This is our third in the series of our Supplier Diversity Small Business Track, so welcome. Today we will be talking about selling to government, and we have two fantastic speakers with us today, Dawnelle Conley and Steven Szalo. I'll give a brief introduction of our speakers today and hand them over to you. But thank you again. Please go ahead and feel free to continue to put your questions in the chat as you have. For each of the presentations, we will also have an opportunity to unmute ourselves and maybe have a conversation and discussion and ask questions directly. So without further ado, I will introduce our first speaker. Dawnelle Conley is the Deputy Director, District Director for the U.S. Small Business Administration for the Iowa District Office. She works in conjunction with the District Director in managing the day-to-day operations as it administers the programs and services offered in Iowa by the SBA, a federal agency that helps entrepreneurs start, build, and grow their small businesses. She has worked in a number of capacities for the Small Business Administration, especially in the area of assisting minority and small businesses with government contracting, information, and opportunities. She continues to work closely with the business community and service providers, informing them of the benefits of SBA programs and services. I'll go ahead and quickly make an introduction to Mr. Szalo as well and hand it over to our first speaker. Mr. Steve Szalo is the Procurement Center Representative for Contracting Activities in Area 4 of Small Business Administration, which includes Army Contracting Command, Rock Island, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Rock Island, Army Sustainment Command, Joint Manufacturing and Technology Center, Rock Island, seems like a lot, Veterans Hospital, Iowa City, and the National Guard in Des Moines. He is responsible for assuring that small business concerns have a fair and equitable opportunity to compete for federal procurement opportunities, and that a fair proportion of total sales of government property is made to small business concern. Which is exactly what the mission of our program is too. And so we're really excited and thrilled to have both of you here today. So without further ado, I would like to bring on Dawnelle. The floor is yours.
Thank you. And thank you to the Des Moines Partnership. Again, I'm Dawnelle and I'm with the SBA. And just briefly, when we market throughout the state of Iowa, we tell the small businesses about our programs and services. Within that, I want you to know that SBA works in 3 core areas: capital, counseling, and contracting. And that is what Steve and I are going to talk to you about today, the contracting piece. So while I get into the heart of the presentation, I'm going to turn off my video, and then I'll get into the heart of my presentation. What we want to talk about is our government contracting programs today. And I will touch on the 8A program, the HUBZone program, and I will also touch on the small business size standards. We also have a certification for women-owned small business contracting program. We have information on the service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses. For more information on all of our government contracting programs, you can log on to our website at www.sba.gov, click on to federal contracting, and that will house all of our government contracting programs. So the 8A program is a business development program. Section 8A received its name from the section of the law it was created from. The 8A program is governed by 13 CFR, which means the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 124. It's also governed by FAR Part 19.8, which is the Federal Acquisition Regulations. So within the federal government has an overall goal to do business of 23%. And when that broken out, they have an overall goal of 5% to do business with small disadvantaged businesses, a 5% goal with women-owned small businesses, a 3% goal with service-disabled veterans, and the 3% goal with HUBZone businesses. So what is the 8A Business Development Program. Well, it provides assistance to small and disadvantaged businesses. Participation in the program is divided into two stages. The 8A program is a 9-year program, and it helps provide a level playing field for small businesses owned by socially and economically disadvantaged people or entities. The government limits competitions for certain contracts to businesses that participate in the 8A Business Development Program. So when we talk about the 8A program, foremost, is a business development program. It's not a contracting program, but it has benefits of contracts that are set aside. The 8A program offers a broad scope of assistance to firms that are owned and controlled at least 51% by socially and economically disadvantaged individuals. The 8A program is an essential instrument in helping entrepreneurs who are socially and economically disadvantaged to gain access to the economic mainstream of the American economy and society, and to gain a foothold in government contracting. So the 8A program, excuse me, is a 9-year program. There's 2 stages. The first 4 years are the developmental stage, helping you along in the program. The last 5 years are the transitional years that prepare you to lead the program. Within the last 5 years of the transitional stage, you will be required to get more of the competitive market. So continuation in the program is dependent upon the firm's continuing eligibility as a socially and economically disadvantaged owned business in continued compliance with the 8A BD participation agreement. So when it talks about compliance with the participation agreement, when a business is certified into the 8A program as an 8A participant, one of the first things you're going to be sent is a participation agreement, what outlines all the eligibility requirements of the 8A program that you must sign and date that will keep you in compliance of the requirements of the program. So there are a lot of benefits to the 8A program. And as we said, the 8A program is a business development program with the benefit of set-aside contracts. So participants can receive sole source contracts up to a ceiling of $4 million for goods and services and construction, and $7 million for manufacturing. If it goes over the threshold of 4 million and 7 million, then those contracts are competed among those who are certified into the program. While we help 8A firms build their competitive and institutional know-hows, we also encourage you to participate in competitive acquisitions. 8A firms are also able to form joint ventures and teams to bid on contracts. This enhances the ability of 8A firms to perform larger prime contracts and overcome the effects of contract bundling, which is the combining of 2 or more contracts together into one large contract. The Mentor Protege program allows 8A companies to learn the ropes from other more experienced businesses. The Mentor Protege program is designed to enable successful firms to provide various forms of business development assistance to 8A participants. The goal of the 8A Mentor Protege program is to enhance the capabilities of 8A participants to be competitive, achieve entrepreneur success, and contribute to the strength and vigor of our economy. Within the 8A program, the SBA has a 7J Management and Technical Assistant Program, and it's authorized by the Small Business Act to provide high quality assistance to eligible small businesses through training and through executive education courses. So generally, to be approved into the 8A development program and become certified, the business must meet these eligibility requirements. Be a small business and be in business at least for 2 years and establish those 2 years with your tax returns. Not have previously participated in the 8A program. The 8A program is a 9-year program. You can only claim the disadvantaged status once. So when you think about applying for the 8A program, it should be a business management decision. You want to make sure that when you apply for the program and you are approved, that you are ready to go, because it's a one-time certification. The program is for 9 years, and the 9 years goes very fast. Be at least 51% owned and controlled by US citizens who are socially and economically disadvantaged, have a personal net worth of $750,000 or less, but that excludes equity in your home and equity in your business, adjusted gross income of $350,000 or less, and $6 million or less in assets, demonstrate good character and potential to perform on contracts. So when one applies for the program, you must demonstrate both that you are socially and economically disadvantaged. And under the federal law, socially disadvantaged individuals are those who have been subjected to racial or ethnic prejudice or cultural bias within American societies because of their identifications as members of groups without regard to their individual qualities. For purposes of the 8A program, there are some groups who are presumed to be socially disadvantaged, such as Black Americans, Hispanic, Native Americans, and those that are listed here. However, even though they are presumed to be socially disadvantaged, they still must meet the eligibility requirements of the program and go through the application process as anyone else. So when we talk about socially disadvantaged, individuals not members of the designated groups or presumed groups will have to establish what we call preponderance of evidence. And preponderance of evidence means something more likely happened than not. As an individual who's not a member of one of the presumed groups can be admitted into the 8A Business Development Program. To do so, the business must prove to SBA that the individual or individuals meeting SBA's ownership and control requirements is socially disadvantaged. This process includes showing personal experience where applicable in education, employment, and business history. And when I think about a non-disadvantaged woman being in an untraditional industry such as construction and things that might impair her or hinder her, things that she can document within that narrative of socially disadvantaged and put that information in there to demonstrate that she is socially disadvantaged. Maybe it's bidding, maybe it's the capital, but it's the things that hinder you from competing successfully among your competitors. And then we're going to look at economic disadvantage eligibility. And economically disadvantaged individuals are socially disadvantaged individuals whose ability to compete in the free enterprise system has been impaired due to diminished capital and credit opportunities as compared to others in the same or similar line of business who are not socially disadvantaged. So with the economics, it's easy to define. Your economic thresholds is have a personal net worth of $750,000 or less. Again, that excludes equity in your home and equity in your business, adjusted gross income of $350,000 or less, and $6 million or less in assets. With the economic disadvantage, SBA evaluates other factors as well. So they evaluate all income for the past 3 years, including any unusual income levels, fair market value of all assets, personal net worth, assets and liabilities, transfer of assets to an immediate family member directly or via trust, the availability of individual retirement account, IRA, funds or other official retirement accounts will not be considered in determining an individual's net worth. Income received from the firm when filing taxes as an S corporation or partnership, and reinvestment into the applicant firm, and tax payments for the firm. Now, when you apply for the 8A program, you must demonstrate that you're socially and economically disadvantaged. But SBA also evaluates some other factors such as ownership. So you must own at least 51% or more of the firm, possesses direct ownership, meaning the firm is neither owned through another firm nor trust, with the exception of certain living trusts, has unconditional ownership without restrictions or conditions, is entitled to receive distributions commensurate with ownership percentages, both annually and when stock is sold or firm is dissolved. The SBA regulations also have specific restrictions on ownership by immediate family members, not disadvantaged individuals, and by other firms. Now, the disadvantaged individual must show at least 51% ownership in the firm. Control and ownership are not the same, and SBA evaluates each differently. To determine ownership, SBA looks at multiple factors from several different supporting documents the firm provides in the application package. Here are just some of the documents SBA looks at to determine whether the firm is unconditionally and directly owned by disadvantaged individuals. Some of those documents are articles, bylaws, operating agreements, partnership agreements, stock certificates, stock options, outstanding shares, types and classes of members' interest in an LLC, types and classes of partners in a partnership, prior owners of the firm and future proposed changes, ownership in other businesses by the disadvantaged individuals, ownership of the firm by other businesses or trusts, and ownership changes to or from immediate family members, a spouse, another firm, and other individuals. So SBA also evaluates the control. And remember, ownership and control are evaluated differently. So when one is demonstrating that they're socially and economically disadvantaged, they must serve as the highest officer. They must control the board. They must make the long-term decisions and run the business on a day-to-day basis, be the highest compensated, possesses the appropriate amount and type of management experience needed to run the firm, must possess the needed technical experience or critical licenses the firm needs, or show ultimate managerial and supervisory authority over those who do, and work full-time at the applicant firm. So within that evaluation of the application, SBA is going to also evaluate your size standards. And all firms approved and remaining in SBA's 8A program must be a small business. Size is determined by either averaging the firm's receipts over 3 years or number of firms employed. The firm must be small at the time of application and remain small during the firm's participation. Size eligibility is not limited to looking at just the firm. SBA also looks at the firm's and principal's relationships with other businesses and other individuals through contract relationships, prior relationships, family ties, and common investments. So SBA is going to look at you as an individual and see if you meet the small business size standards. However, if you have affiliates, their sizes are going to be added in that. And after that is done, will you still remain and meet the small business size standards? Just some things to think about when you think about applying for the 8A program. So one thing I did, I took time we have 15 8A firms in the SBA Iowa Des Moines portfolio. And I listed some of their industry standards that they are currently working with federal government and non-federal government. When we talk about the 8A program, it's a business development program. So what business development means is that we want to help grow your business to the next level. We also want to build capacity to the next level. And when 8A companies are certified within our portfolio, the thing we encourage them is that we want them to grow and build capacity both on the federal contracting side and the non-federal contracting side as well. So generally, to be approved into the 8A Business Development Program and become certified, the business must meet these eligibility requirements. Before you can participate in the program, you must be certified. And you can apply at certified.sba.gov website, but you'll need to have a profile at sams.gov before you can use the certification website. In sams.gov, the word SAM is Systems Forward Management. Anyone looking to do business with the federal government must register in the sams.gov. The information you'll need to provide will vary based on your business structure and whether you're already participating in other SBA programs. Please refer to the certified knowledge base for tips and helpful resources before you apply. The certified knowledge base has a host of information and resources. You'll be notified if your application was approved or not, and if accepted into the program, your profile in the dynamic small business search will show your approval date and exit date for the program. So when it says your profile will be found in the dynamic small business search area, when you register in the sams.gov as a small business, all small businesses can be found in the area of the known as the dynamic small business search. And you may hear people use the acronyms of DSBS, but that is what they're referring to. Your certification will last for a maximum of 9 years, and you'll need to complete annual reviews to maintain your good standing in the program. So this is the certified.sba.gov database. This is where you're going to apply for the 8A program. When you get to this database, please scroll down to the bottom of the page and click onto the certified knowledge base, because in there's a wealth of resources. There's a full prototype walkthrough of the 8A initial application. There's a quick start guide, and then there's the tips for successful 8A application. So please use those available resources that are available to you. And then we want to talk about the Procurement Technical Assistance Center. They are a vital resource partner. You'll need to have a profile at sams.gov before you apply for any of SBA certification program. You'll need to be registered in sam.gov. The resource or the organization that can help you with this for free is the Procurement Technical Assistance Center. And keep in mind the PTAC helps businesses in so many areas. They will help you on the federal contracting side, as well as the non-federal contracting side. So if your customer right now is corporate, commercial, if you're working with someone in the state or city, still please use the services of the PTAC. So we're going to switch gears, and I want to get into the heart of the HUBZone program. You'll see that it's much different than the 8A program. The requirements are totally different in the process that you have to go through to see if you meet the requirements of the program are much easier. So let's get into the heart of the HUBZone program. So HUBZone means a historically underutilized business zone, which is an area located within one or more qualified census tracts, qualified non-metropolitan counties, lands within the external boundaries of an Indian reservation, redesignated areas, a qualified base closure areas, a qualified disaster area, or governor designated covered areas. The HUBZone program is based on the geographical location of the business. It's where the principal office is located. HUBZones are located in areas of high unemployment and low income. I took time to put this slide in because I thought I would get questions as, when you apply for the HUBZone program, how long do you have to be in business? So when may a concern apply for certification? A concern may apply to SBA and submit the required information whenever it can represent that it meets the eligibility requirements subject to Code of Federal Regulations 126.309. All representations and supporting information contained in the application must be complete and accurate as of the date of submission. The application must be signed by an officer of the concern who is authorized to represent the concern. So once you meet the eligibility requirements of the HUBZone program, you can apply for it. So now we're going to go through the steps of looking at the eligibility requirements. So the first step you want to do, you want to see if your principal office is located in a HUBZone area. And on our website at www.sba.gov, if you click onto federal contracting, you'll see all of our government contracting programs. You'll click on HUBZone. And on the first page of HUBZone, you'll have access to click on the map. And once you click on the map, this is what it will look at like. And you'll see highlighted in the yellow there is where you're going to enter your address. So I took time to enter the federal building of where we're located downtown in Des Moines. And long and behold, the federal building is located in a qualified HUBZone area. And south of our federal building, I believe some of that is HUBZone area as well. So you as a business, once you identify your business qualifies that it is in one of those designated areas, then this is what else you'll need to know. You must be small by reference to small business size standards, be at least 51% owned by US citizens, an Indian tribal government, an Alaska Native corporation, ANC, a Native Hawaiian organization, a community development corporation, and ag cooperative. Have its principal office, the single location at which the greatest number of its employees perform most of their work, located in a HUBZone, and have at least 35% of its employees HUBZone residents. Again, the HUBZone is based on the geographical location of a business. So securing the footprint, HUBZone maps for qualified census tracts in non-metropolitan counties are frozen through June 30th, 2023, and will be updated every 5 years. So what the SBA has done is made the program more sustainable. It's made it more sustainable for HUBZone certified companies that are located in these areas, and it's made it more sustainable for federal agencies who are looking to work with HUBZone certified companies. So it increases opportunities and it increases chances of being awarded a HUBZone type of contract. And then also by increasing the sustainability of the program, small businesses will continue to maintain HUBZone eligibility status for a 3-year transition period following expiration of HUBZone qualified census tracts and qualified non-metropolitan counties, known as redesignated areas. Another thing that has changed, small businesses that invest in HUBZones by purchasing a building or enter a long-term lease of 10 years or more may maintain HUBZone eligibility for up to 10 years. Even at some point, the office location no longer qualifies, as long as the business continues to meet the HUBZone residency and other requirements of the program. So SBA has made some great changes that will benefit both the HUBZone certified companies as well as federal agencies looking to award contracts to these types of business. Now, recertification will now be required every 3 years with full documentation required every 3 years. So let me read that again. Recertification will now be required every year with full documentation required every 3 years. And firms with active federal contracts may be subject to full documentation review every year. Prior to this change, HUBZone firms recertified every 3 years. This change will make it easier for federal agencies to verify eligibility and will strengthen the integrity of the program. So when we look at the HUBZone contracts, they are contracts awarded to certified HUBZone small business concern, regardless of the place of performance through any of the following procurement methods. Now, when HUBZone contracts go out, they are first competed. But if there's only one viable business that meets the requirement, then the HUBZone can be a sole source opportunity. HUBZone contracts can be full and open competition where the HUBZone price evaluation preference is applied. It's also reserved under the multiple award contracts, and there's orders set aside under the MAC during full and open competition. When we look at HUBZone contracts, their thresholds are 7 million for manufacturing and 4 million for contracts for services, goods, and construction. So the status as a HUBZone small business concerned is determined by SBA. And so you have to go through an application process to apply for the HUBZone program. But once you are approved for this program and you properly registered on SAMS.gov, your profile will show under the Dynamic Small Business Searcher area, as we call DSBS. And you'll see on my next slides, I have some screenshots of the Dynamic Small Business Search area and how federal agencies will be able to determine if you are a certified HUBZone company. And only firms that are HUBZone certified that have been approved by SBA are eligible for those contracts in up to $7 million in manufacturing and $4 million with goods, services, and construction. A HUBZone SBC may joint venture with one or more other small business concern, or its SBA approved mentor. So the joint venture and the mentor can be a benefit to this program for the purposes of submitting an offer for a HUBZone contract. Note, the joint venture itself need not be certified as a qualified HUBZone small business concern. So this is a picture of the Dynamic Small Business Search area. So when you registered your profile at SAMS.gov, your profile will be located in the Dynamic Small Business Search area. This area allows federal contracting officers, large primes, search out in general small businesses, but especially those who have went through the process of being certified. Also, this database helps you as a small business to search out who are your competitors within the federal government. And remember this, the Dynamic Small Business Search database is a national database. So when a federal contracting officer looks to do business with you and to verify your information, they're going to come to the Dynamic Small Business Search area. And what I have highlighted there is your HUBZone certification, and it'll say yes in the date of your certification. The only one who can enter this information here is SBA. And this is where the federal contracting officer can verify your information, as well as calling the local district SBA office. Also, when a federal contracting officer is doing research on a HUBZone business, and they come to this where they're no longer certified, that information is put in the system by SBA and will give the period of time that HUBZone certified company was part of the program and the date they are no longer certified. And of course, if you have not applied for any of our programs, you still can register in SAMS.gov as a small business. But if you have not went through any of the certification process, of course, this area for you will be blank. So some top tips for the HUBZone program. There is on the flyer, well, on the top tips for HUBZone certification, the tip sheet is so important to look at because it asks you a lot of questions about, are you procurement ready? Is your business ready for HUBZone? And are you prepared to apply? But if you'll look at that information, it has a host of information and top 10s and suggestions about thinking about when you're going to do federal contracting and asking you some pertinent questions about it. But again, when you apply for the HUBZone program, you'll need to be registered in the SAMS.gov. Now for the HUBZone program, you're going to use the general login system. And you're going to select, when you get in there, access in HUBZone, because that's going to give you access to the HUBZone application. You'll want to check your email for time-sensitive instructions to electronically verify your application within 10 business days, submit any requested supporting documentation within 10 business days, and update your SAMS.gov profile to indicate you are a HUBZone business after you get an email confirmation from the SBA. Because in that SAMS area, the Dynamic Small Business Search area, it allows you to put any certification you are a part of, whether you're TSB, HUBZone 8A, you can update your profile once you're approved. The information you'll need to provide in the application will vary based on your business structure and whether you're already participating in other SBA contracting programs. So read the instructions from the general login system carefully to make sure you provide all the necessary information. So resources and references for the HUBZone program. For your website and checklist, you can go to www.sba.gov/HUBZone. You can view the map as we did. If you have specific questions about the HUBZone program, please reach out to that email, hubzone@sba.gov. Another key thing is members of the HUBZone team answers questions on a weekly basis to help firms navigate the certification process. So every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon from 2 to 3 Eastern, you can call in and ask any of your questions, and they will help you with any of your questions and assist you through the application process when you're looking to apply for the HUBZone program. Some things I like to leave you with and to think about: are you ready? And do you have the capacity to deliver on a federal contract? Do you have sufficient cash flow? Have you established past performance? Now, past performance doesn't have to all be on the federal side. It can be on the non-federal side, because maybe it's just, you can establish your past performance with your current customer that you are currently working with. Because if you apply for the 8A program and because you have been through the process, you feel that you're ready to apply, you can establish your past performance with your current customers. But it is good if you have past performance with the federal government. And to remember this, you don't have to be in any certification program to do business with the federal government. You can just be a small business bidding on opportunities that are out there. And that is building your capacity, and it's also building your past performance. And can you demonstrate on your past performance that you conducted it successfully? And are you open to advice on growing your business to make sure you use all the resources out there that are available to you? And does the government buy what you sell? Does the government have a need for the product or the service you provide? Do you have federal contracting experience, the cash, the inventory, the working capital? Are you capable of fulfilling a government contract? And do you know where to find contracting opportunities? And if you don't, please reach out to the Procurement Technical Assistance Center. And the last thing I'd like to leave you with is this. As I said, to do business with the federal government, you don't have to be part of any certifications, but you do have to be properly registered. But for those of you that have a certification, certifications do not guarantee you contracts, but certifications are vehicles that make it easier for federal contracting officers to reach you. So the vehicles that are applicable to you, such as the certification programs, because there's a lot of certification programs out there, but you have to look to see what is going to benefit you at the place you are now and maybe on down the road. And that's how you have to look at certifications. But the key thing within any industry is how well you market. Thank you.
Thank you, Dawnelle. That was a really very super informative and information-packed presentation. I want to just see, I don't see any questions in the chat, but I want to give people an opportunity to think through if they had any questions, if they thought of anything. You're welcome to put that in the chat, or you can unmute and ask, whatever works for you. I am also new to this world, and I have like one quick question. I feel like it's a stupid question, but we also know there's no stupid question, right? So I'll go ahead and ask it. Can you give examples of like what are some of the needs and types of businesses selling to government? I'm sure you will say there's a wide variety, but just a few examples.
Well, let me go back to my slide here where I had our companies, and I will start there. There's always a need for construction, and Steve, you can chime in too because he works in this area a lot. But what I find out, construction is a heavy need, roofing contractors, engineering. But one thing we found out is like staffing companies. If you're in IT, that's a harder area. It is doable. We have some companies who are successfully being able to be awarded 8A contracts. We have a delivery service that has been harder, but we still work. And so this is why we encourage in the 8A program that to market for not only federal contracts, but to market for non-federal contracts, because we will help them on both sides of the ends of the size as far as increasing their business development and increasing their contracting efforts. Do you have anything to add, Steve, on that?
Yeah, I think from the federal side, you know, you've got to understand who's buying in your area and what they buy in your area. If you're interested in just staying local, for example, you know, if you have the Rock Island Arsenal, which probably is the largest federal buyer in Iowa area. You know, you have to understand what we buy here. So, you know, they buy a lot of IT stuff, but then there's the Rock Island Corps of Engineers that buys a lot of civil engineering stuff. And, you know, so just getting to know what they buy, and that will help you kind of navigate, you know, whether this is the right kind of program for you or not, or if you need to go further out, like different states, other states where different contracting offices are for these services or supplies. So you just got to understand your market.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I think just another piggybacking question, administrative services and general management consulting services, that would probably encompass a whole lot of things. Can you like expand a little bit on that?
Well, you know, it's been my experience with those kind of things that I would search opportunities for subcontracting in those areas, because you can make a heck of a living off subcontracting. And the beauty of that is you just do the work. You don't have to worry about all the legal mumbo jumbo of the contract. And if a prime can find a good person that does that kind of, provides that kind of service, they're going to hold on to them. So you got to be prepared to travel, though. You got to be prepared to go places. You're not going to pick that kind of work up in Des Moines, and keep a good living at it. But if you're willing to move around, like temporarily, you know, travel where the work is, and then still come back home every now and then, you could probably make a pretty good living at it. So just my observations of what I've seen.
Got it. Well, thank you for expanding on that. I do know of an IT company here locally in town in Des Moines who does contracting only with federal government, and they're very big. So yeah, it is possible. And yeah, like you said, you can make a lot of money.
If I may add this, is that as Steve knows, we have no large military bases here. And so a lot of the decision makers are not located in Iowa. So when Steve said, if you're willing to travel and meet those decision makers, that opens the door for you for more opportunity. So I just wanted to segue what Steve had said.
Got it. Thank you. Any other questions from any participants? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Dawnelle, for your time and your presentation. Steve has been waiting patiently, and thanks for adding to the conversation. So I believe you have the ability to share your screen, and the floor is yours.
Okay, I think that's it right here.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to do like Dawnelle did. I'm going to go blank here too and just talk. So first of all, I'd like to say thank you to Christina and Sanji for putting this thing together. This is a great opportunity for people like us to, like the SBA folks, to share what we do and how we can help businesses understand another aspect of business, especially the federal government stuff. Yeah, it can be complicated. And guys like me, I come off the contracting floor. I have about 10 years experience at various different locations, at various different levels on the contracting floor that really gives me that knowledge of how the contracting officer operates, how they look at the contractor, how they evaluate the contractor, how we set up acquisition strategies, how do we determine how to buy something, how do we select somebody for an award, those kind of things. And what I try to do is, what am I trying to do here? I try to break it down into language where the other side, your side, understands, so that when you present your information to the government, the federal contracting officer, you're presenting it in a way that the contracting officer can understand it. A lot of times, you're doing it by, I think this is the way that I need to present it. And it's not always right. And you get thrown off to the side by the contracting officer because we get bombarded with information every day. We expect that information to look a certain way, to be a certain way. And if your information isn't presented to us that way, then you get chalked off to the side and you never get a chance. And you don't even know why. So here's me. This is me. I'm here trying to explain all this to you so that you understand how to break that down and make yourself presentable in a way that they're going to understand who you are. You'd be surprised at how many times these contractors in our area, I'm talking about all of Iowa. For example, before I get started, let me tell you a little bit about myself here. And you'll have this on the slide. So I am out of Rock Island at the Arsenal. I have an office there. I haven't been in it since March of last year because of COVID, but I still meet with folks like this online, and I talk about strategies and business opportunities with the government. You can reach me at the email address is usually the best. I get lots of phone calls. I get lots of, I'm busy. I cover 5 states. So you can just imagine what my day workload is. So if you email me, you're going to get a response back from me, and things we'll be able to work out something where we can sit and talk and actually have a meaningful conversation about something. I want to get to know who you are and where you're at in your business. And trust me, I can provide some useful information to you. I can't promise you contracts, but I can certainly give you information that's going to help you with your business. There's no doubt in my mind. I help people all the time. So feel free to send me an email and tell me a little bit about yourself, and we'll go from there. little bit about me. I live in Davenport. I have an MBA. I'm a retired Navy chief. I've been around the block a few times. I kind of feel I know what I'm doing. I've been with the SBA for 3 years now. I'm fully certified with government contracts from being on the floor. I used to be a small business owner, and I love pickleball. Okay, so I cover a lot of area. Like I said, I advocate for small businesses. I recruit and develop small businesses, which is something that you need to understand. Hear me. I recruit and develop small businesses. I counsel small businesses. I do this, attend and speak at events like this, and I team build. So there's a lot of different aspects to all those things that I can help you with. If you are doing business like you did, like your dad, your parents did, you're probably outdated. Today's a different world. Today's a different business world. You got to open your mind up. There's a different way of doing business today. It's not like putting out your shingle on the side of your building and saying, hey, this is who I am. Come do business with me. Don't work that way too good anymore. You've got to open your mind. It's a whole different business out there. And I can help you understand that and help you open up a different aspect to doing business. These are some of the federal commands that I have some kind of say with, especially for small businesses. These are some of the resources that I use, that I get in touch with all the time, and I work with and through. So they're also available to you. I would suggest that you reach out to these folks and ask and see what kind of help they can provide. Honestly, some of them will help you a lot. Some of them maybe not so much. It just depends on who's in there and how much they're willing to help. Honestly, straight up, I'm going to come at you straight. There's good, there's not so good, but you got to keep at it. They're out there. And some of them will really help. The PTACs, I know for a fact up there in Des Moines, they're outstanding. Those guys and gals, they will help you. They will do everything they can. They won't do it for you, but they will help you. And if you're in the starting stages of building your business, these are the folks to go to, the PTACs. I can't say enough about them. They are really top shelf. They get paid to help you. And you got to look them up. They're easy to find. And they're up there in Des Moines, in that whole area. Ankeny, I believe in Ames, Ankeny, and Des Moines. So SCORE, Chamber of Commerce, of course. And there are a lot of avenues up there. And I'm always available to come and speak at Rotaries, Kiwanis, any of those things, or even at community events, county or state conferences. I'm willing to come and talk. So, like I said, I do face-to-face, all these different things, surveillance reviews. This is the way that I go into these federal entities and make sure I review their records, annual records going back 5 years, and make sure that they are doing what they're supposed to. Make sure that they're making that 23% total dollar annually to small businesses, and broke out to what, 5% for women-owned small businesses, 3% to HUBZone, whatever the breakouts are. These surveillance reviews is how I hold these buying commands accountable. I do 2 a year in my area, and I think it works. So that's my way of keeping these people honest. Outreach events, I kind of consider this an outreach event. I'm reaching out to you today to let you know who I am and what I do. And hopefully we'll connect later on down the road, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, and set up an appointment. And we'll talk a little bit more in depth about your business. So, okay, let's try to get to where the meat of my business is. Number one, I put this one up here, my focus is keeping contracting dollars local. This is number one on my book. It always has been. I've been trying really hard, especially here in the Midwest. When I was on the contracting floor, the IT contracting command here, our major buyer was the Pentagon. Well, that's in Washington, D.C. So, of course, they like to have a lot of the Washington Beltway IT folks, the people that they're accustomed to, the big companies that are all out there. They're the ones who tend to get all these big contracts. But just like Sanji said, you know, hey, there's a IT group there in Des Moines that's pretty good and makes a lot of money. They're all over the Midwest. This is what I found. We have the same kind of workers, the same kind of professionals, the same kind of businesses that you find out there in that beltway, right here in our own backyard. They're here. We just don't know who you are. We can't find you. If we don't know who you are, then how can we give you the contracts? This is the problem. I am tired of us being a flyover state. I noticed that when you go in and set up your SAM account, that it's not enough just to put the basic information in. You have to put information in there that tells us who you are. Just like I was saying earlier, if I can't find you, if you're not communicating to me in a way that I understand who you are and what you do, then we're going to set you off to the side. You're not going to move forward in the process. So I take it to heart. Yes, use that PTAC to help set up your registration for SAM. But once that SAM account, once you get your cage code, you need to set up an appointment with me to actually go over your SAM profile. I will help you build that SAM profile. There are areas in that profile that are necessary for you to explain who you are, what kind of equipment you have, what kind of certificate you have, what kind of work history you have, what kind of NAICS codes you have. If you can't tell us those things, you're not going to get anywhere. You might as well not even have a profile. Last year, we had a requirement for Lake Saylorville. It was the Corps of Engineers. Lake Saylorville had a requirement for both sides of the lake to have lawn services. We couldn't find a lawn cutting service to provide this service. There was nobody in SAM, nobody in BSBS in the local area up there, even in Des Moines, that was registered as a small business that could do that. We couldn't give it away. We couldn't give that job away. Why? I still ask myself why. The reason is we couldn't find you. I know there's somebody up there. We ended up giving it to some 8A that was way out of here. It's a shame. Those dollars should have stayed home. They should have stayed home. So this is my thing. I want to keep those dollars local, and I want to help build this profile where local businesses are not going to be taken over by these out of state companies, and we can thrive. That's the bottom line. These businesses have to be found, and it's my job, I think, to help you get yourself on that radar. So that's the training and the counseling part of it. The government purchase, so a lot of people, a lot of contractors, especially startups to maybe mid-grade, 3 to 5 year folks, they tend to get scared of government contracts because they think they're just too complicated. Let me see if I can move this to the next page here. There are actually 3 different levels of procurements, and you need to understand this. Each level, the laws, the rules get stricter. The easiest, the low-hanging fruit are the government purchase card procurements. This is like the contracting officer has a credit card and they go to Lowe's or Menards and buys stuff right off the shelf. That's how easy it is. There's really, it's buys up to $10,000 each. Well, purchases off the card, $10,000. We can do purchase orders up to $25,000. If it's off the card, you get paid immediately. If it's off a purchase order, you get paid within 30 days. Okay. They're for commercial supplies and services, and they're usually repetitive buys. So what that means is we're going back to buy nuts and bolts and wood and gas and you name it, those kind of things over and over and over. If you can be that supplier, you can make some pretty good money, especially if you're struggling and you need to have money coming in, even if it's $10,000 or $25,000 every month for your business. This is easy. There's no red tape. It's quick turnaround money. You get, if it's off the card, like I said, you get it right away. If it's a purchase order, you'll get it within 30 days. It can be non-competitive. We can go right to you and buy it. I know here at JMTC, when they're building crates, they need wood. They go to Menards and buy wood. Why do they have to go to Menards? They can go to anybody. They can go to anybody. So the same thing applies. The problem with these kind of buys is the contracting officer does not have to advertise these. So some do put it on Beta Sam, some don't. So here's the thing. You have to do your research and find contracting officers that actually do these government purchase card procurements. A lot of the smaller commands, like the MICC, M-I-C-C command, they're smaller commands. Maybe even the National Guard up there in Des Moines, they might do government purchase cards on a regular basis. You have to introduce your business to them specifically so they know who you are, so that you get on their buy list. That's the way to get those, because they're not going to put them out there where everybody can see them. So that is the problem. anything the federal government buys 25,000 or above has to be advertised. So it has to be like on Beta SAM. So these low dollar ones, that's the problem. You just don't know when they're going to be out there. So that's one level. The next level are simplified acquisitions. These are by law, they're set up to $250,000 basically for non-commercial procurements. They're set aside for small businesses. Now, I say that as long as we can find small businesses, 2 of them, there has to be a rule of 2 for non-competitive, for competitive purposes. And if we can do that, then we can keep it as a small business set aside, small business buy. If we can't find that rule of 2, then we're going to open it to full and open, which is going to bring in the large businesses, which probably more than likely is going to disqualify the smaller ones because they can't compete financially with, the largest usually, the pricing. It's tough. So if you see a request for information on Beta SAM asking for a small business, if you can do certain work, I ask you to respond to that, because what they're doing is collecting information during their market research phase to see if there are enough small businesses that can actually compete for that. If they do have enough, then they will set that procurement aside for small business procurement. So that knocks out all those large businesses, which is great. Okay, so there are other dollar limits on simplified acquisitions. So commercial procurements up to 7 million. Those dollar thresholds change and have changed recently. So I'm not sure if we're still on the same page with 7 million. I think we are. I think it's 4 million for construction. I'm not sure, but there are different limits, and anyway, they're very streamlined acquisition procedures. They're very simple. They're not as easy as the credit card, but it doesn't include all those legal terms and pages and pages of documents and contractual documents that the large documents have. They're actually a layman can actually sit down and understand that solicitation and respond to it. So they usually get advertised on Beta SAM, NACO, Seaport, Navy, GSA, those kind of things. So, and the pay on those are fairly quick, 30 days usually. So those 2 areas definitely for small businesses. All right, then the large government contracts are these contracts that are above 250,000 or 7 million. These are the ones that small businesses normally stay away from. Even large businesses stay away from them. These usually take lawyers to figure out. They're multi-year, large contracts. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these because they are very complex. Usually the big prime contractors get these, and for you, doing that subcontracting work on these is probably the best route to go. And if a prime gets this, the prime still has that 23% requirement on subcontracting that they have to maintain. So you can get, they have to do the subcontracting, and they need you. So there's a place that we have a tool that we use for these primes to put that kind of work out there. And and search for folks like you based on NAICS codes to try to build that relationship and find you for that work. And I'll show you that too. So anyway, that's another area. So the system for award management, Dawnelle kind of went over all this, and I'm not going to dwell on it anymore, but this is how you start it up. If you're a new startup, these are areas that you can go to. You don't really need somebody to hire somebody to do all this stuff. You can if you want, but I think you're kind of wasting your money because you've got a PTAC that can help you do it for free, or you can just use this as a guide to go through it, and pretty much it'll walk you through just to get it started. Like I said, once you get your cage code, then you connect with me and I'll help you build the rest of it. So if you want to look for federal government opportunities, these are those point of entry sites that I was talking about: Beta Sam, NICO, Seaport, all those different areas. Subnet is the area I was talking about, that this one down here on the bottom is for where the primes put that work out there looking for subcontractors like you. And so what you need to do is just go in there. There's a point of contact in there for you. You can go in and call them or email them and introduce yourself and your company and see if you can connect with them for some work. It's a great networking tool and working tool for building your business. A lot of times the folks that are on Subnet, the primes that are on there, are contractors that are always getting government awards, and they might have a contract that they're already working on somewhere else that might need your work, or they'll get something down the road that might need your work. Anyway, it's really worth connecting with them because it may lead to some substantial work. So I'm going to kind of leave it at that right there. And I'll take questions. Unless we still have time, there are lots of areas that I could still talk about, but I just want to be conscious of time. So if you kind of let me know where we're at with that.
Yeah, thank you. I think I really loved the very conversational style of your presentation. It was, I think it really struck on me when you said a couple of things. Why didn't that example of not finding the local business to do the lawn services really struck on me, and wanting to think more about what is it that we can do to facilitate some of that, right? That's why we're trying to go into this work as well, to figure out how can we be that middle entity to support and help facilitate. So I don't know if anyone in the audience has any other questions, but that's what I was asking about. Sometimes when we think of government contracting, it does seem daunting and complex. And the idea is to break it down, but also that's why I asked Dawnelle about the different areas where there might be procurement, and sometimes we don't think that you might need lawn services, for example. I think there are a lot of our small businesses are doing a lot of, a lot of these different types of businesses, right? And so knowing that you do need lawn services, something like a lawn services is really helpful. So that's something that really struck on me. Anyone in the audience have any other questions? Do you want to put them in the chat or maybe unmute yourself? We have a couple more minutes, Steve.
How many?
We do have a couple more minutes.
Oh, okay. So while if anybody's writing, I want to add a couple things. There are federal agencies in Des Moines that do actually buy things. Like there's the Department of Transportation. You just gotta think about them. They're there. They are there. There are lots of different agencies. The thing is, their contracting command or buying agency might not be in Des Moines. So the people that buy stuff for the DOT office in Des Moines might be located in Pittsburgh. You just kind of have to get to figure it out where these people are, you know. And in today's market, what I was talking about with, you got to kind of change your strategy, is that things are remote today. You can do business from Des Moines and get a contract from Norfolk, Virginia. You can still do the work at home, or most of the work from home. It's just, you got to know where to find that work. And then once you find that work, you gotta be able to explain who you are and what your abilities are. So there's a lot involved the higher the dollar threshold is for these contracts. There's a lot of small business work at the lower levels. There's really a gold mine out there. There really is. If you know how to find it, I can help you find it. So if you want to have a one-on-one with me, or I can talk with your business group, I'd be happy to do that. It usually takes about an hour and a half to go through your SAM account and talk about how to discover these things and how to put yourself out there. I'd be happy to do that. Just email me at my email address and we'll go from there.
Yeah, that sounds great. I think I feel like SBA does a really good job of having those advocates for us that we can reach out and use support. So we're really thankful to know that you're there, and we would definitely share this information, your contact information, with our small businesses and with our attendees. And I obviously don't lead this work. You know, my colleague Christina and Meg, they lead this work. Just Christina didn't leave us. Her computer crashed. Just letting you know.
I wonder what happened to her.
Oh, she's here. There she is.
There she is.
Do you want to add anything, Christina? Last few words, and I would love to give back a few minutes of this valuable time to everybody else who's attending today.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today. I'm sorry I'm a little under the weather here. I think that if we can help you in any way, this is why we're bringing in the experts. We know that it's kind of intimidating for small businesses, and we want to be able to cross that bridge for you. I think the biggest thing that we have found out is that both sides want to work with each other. They're just not speaking the same language. And so we're really trying to educate both sides. And what I've heard from, a lot of the people looking to do the hiring is they love questions. So don't let, if you don't understand, they want to hear from you. They want you to ask those questions so that they can work from you. Just as Steve said, like, I'm sure if somebody would have called and said, hey, I want to be able to apply, to be able to mow the grass, and I'm right here, that he would have been more than happy to help them through the process and get them on. So don't be intimidated by this. Reach out to us. We're playing the middleman, as Sanjita mentioned, to be able to get everybody to work together. So please use this as a resource.
Yeah.
I guess lastly, we would definitely like to thank, Dawnelle and Steve for taking the time to share all of this information with us today. And we know you guys are maybe a click away from us when we need you. Looks like we can give a couple of minutes back to all of you. Dawnelle, do you feel like you have a few things to say, closing remarks? I see you on mute.
Well, I'd like to thank you and Christina, the Des Moines Partnership, for this wonderful opportunity. I just want to say, when I talk about the certification programs, I go over all the information because I want everybody to know the reality of the process. And there's a lot of opportunity, as Steve said, but when you get into those programs, I just want them to have the reality of what it takes to be part of those programs. And so it does sound very technical, but there's resources like Steve, the PTAC, myself. Any question anyone has, please reach out to us and we will walk you through it. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Yeah, same. And I'm available, just let me know. I can talk to groups or individuals, send them my way. I'll be happy to talk with them, whatever level they're at, even if they're just in the thinking stage. If they're really in the beginning thinking stages, I want them to connect with that PTAC first. That's really the place they need to start. But I'd be happy to be used as a sounding board for them, at least to help them put their thoughts together. If they're more advanced in their business and they want to step into the federal government arena, I can be happy to sit and talk to them and see if this is really what they want to do. Even if they don't, I mean, it's worth the time. It's a conversation.
That sounds great. Well, thank you again for making the time, and thank you for who joined us. I'm sure, again, like I said, we will have this in recording and we'll share it out widely to those who were not able to join us. So I'd like to thank everybody, and maybe we can close here and give a few minutes back. Thank you all.